say. Okay, so that's an internal. I think that more people want to be fundamentally educated so that they can get along with others. Okay, let's move on. So 3 errors that we make are fundamental attribution error, actor observer error, and self-serving bias. So your book, again, we're going to go to your book because the PowerPoints jump over those. We also want you to obtain information from your book. So I'm going to go to page 68. Fundamental attribution error should be before that. Yes, it is on page 67. So one common mistake is the fundamental attribution error, the tendency to attribute others' behavior solely to internal causes, what kind of person they are, rather than the social or the environmental forces affecting them. So we hear a lot about this in our everyday, someone may steal a cookie, a piece of bread, something because they're hungry. And it's not because they want to, it's because they have no other avenue to, because there's no money and they're hungry. So that's a fundamental attribution error to understand why that person did something. So for those of you who are going into psychology, this is an area that will be designed for you to understand socioeconomic. Other reasons, every day, your friend, maybe they're always late, okay? And again, maybe they didn't leave enough time to get to where you are. So we would not want to jump to saying this person doesn't care about me or this person's lazy. So the next error we make is called actor observer effect, and that's on page 68, sorry. A related error is the actor observer effect, the tendency to attribute other people's behaviors to their dispositions while explaining our own behaviors according to situational and external factors. So let's do that one again because it's 2 parts. The tendency to attribute other people's behaviors to their disposition. The reason this person is late is because they're lazy, while explaining our own behaviors accordingly to the situation. I'm always on time. I don't understand why they don't know to be on time when they know that I'm on time. So you're including yourself in there, that the other person is to be made aware of or should be made aware of your time management skills. The next one is self-serving bias. When we take credit for success but deny responsibility for negative events or failures, we engage in self-serving bias. So suppose you were working on a project. Someone says, yep, I did this and I did that, and it doesn't include the we element. So they take credit for most of the work. So given in a professional situation, this may happen more times than you would want, because in a work environment, scientists are working on finding a cure for Johnson & Johnson. Johnson & Johnson's going to get the credit. Some large companies do that often, and some smaller companies do that often. If it's a smaller company, you're probably more likely to say, we would like to be included, but this exists. Okay, a theory that we need to know, because remember in the last 2 chapters, we uncovered some theories. So here's, I believe, the 3 or 4, the uncertainty reduction theory. Our primary compulsion during initial interactions is to reduce uncertainty about others. And remember that onion that we talked about last class. We don't like to feel uncomfortable with other people. So the only way that we can be comfortable is to find areas that are similar. So we want to reduce the uncomfort between yourself and another person. So we like to find areas that are similar so that we reduce this uncertainty. So to reduce uncertainty, we have 3 strategies: passive, active, and interactive. So I'm going to go to your book now, and your passive strategy okay. You can observe how someone interacts with others. And the passive strategy, these approaches can help you predict how someone may behave when interacting with you, thus reducing the uncertainty. So really what it's saying is you observe by observing them. So if you wanted to get to know somebody in a class, so it's the first day of class, second day of class, and you want to reduce your uncertainty about that person, you first observe them. These are called passive strategies. You just observe how they interact with others, or when they take notes. You're just in an observation stage. The active, second, you could try active strategies by asking other people questions about someone you're interested in. So you may look to the person next to you and say, do you know that person over there? Okay, maybe it's not a classroom situation. Maybe it's a friend situation and you're at a party and you find somebody interesting that you want to meet. So you may ask a friend, do you know that person? What school do they go to? And then this leads to the third and perhaps the most effective is the interactive strategies, starting with a direct interaction with the person you're interested. Hi, how are you? What's doing? So you may not realize this, but this is what we tend to do. We don't put time limits on it. Maybe you first observe, and then maybe you don't know anybody around to do the active strategy. But in a friend situation, or going into a new college class, you may. But then the most effective is the interactive. So other influences of our perceptions are our culture, our gender, and our personality. So many of us come from different cultures or a variety of cultures. And gender refers to either the biological or the gender identity you have selected, and personality traits. Those traits that are most important to you and they follow you. So if honesty is important to you, no matter what the situation, honesty is going to be your personality trait. So let's take a look. Culture influences perception in at least 2 ways: schemata and in-groupers and out-groupers. So schemata were those mental structures. So if you heard something on the media, you may have a mental structure of what type of person that person may be wearing that type of garb, or social media. If it's not social media, maybe it's something you learned in a class situation, geography of people around the world, and hopefully that helps you understand how people may dress and act differently than the culture that you are living in. So in-groupers and out-groupers, you can pretty much figure that out. But on page 70, you may consider individuals from many different groups as your in-groupers as long as they share substantial points of cultural community with you, such as nationality, religious beliefs, ethnicity, socioeconomic class, or political views. And those are your in-groupers. So, and your out-groupers would be, in contrast, you may perceive people who aren't similar to you as out-groupers. So when we're doing this uncertainty reduction and we're learning about similarity and differences, we want to help, even if they're not similar, similarities, even if they're differences, they can still be out-groupers, because you can have different religions and different political thoughts, and this person still can be of interest to you, to be a friend, because you have points of view which are important, and that would make you both in-groupers. Perception and gender, we are socialized to believe in gender differences. And your book identifies that studies show that about 1% of communication behavior is influenced by gender. So we will go with your book. Those of you who have taken other classes that may have a different statement. Again, your book has basic interpersonal communication studies that they have used to identify these definitions. This I love. Ocean. So perception and personality. Personality, our characteristic way of thinking, feeling, and acting based on